Kia today is very different from what it was 10 years ago. Its latest products are electric and increasingly big and expensive. But if you think Kia is forgetting its roots, think again. Because this is the new Kia Picanto. And in this video, we're showing you around this small, cheap and updated city car, telling you everything that's new. But before we get into that, if you want to see lots more new car reveals and reviews, make sure you subscribe to our channel and go to whatcar.com for a great deal on your next car. So first, a bit of background on the Kia Picanto, which is a city car that sold almost 250,000 units in the UK since it first went on sale. That was back in 2003. Then we had a second generation Picanto in 2011, before a third generation model arrived in 2017. In 2020, that third gen model had a bit of a tweak in its styling department, but not any major changes. And now we have a bigger update to this third generation model right here. So what exactly is new with the Picanto? Well, as you can see, it's got a very different look from before, hasn't it? So now it kind of looks similar to a Nero or a Sportage, except obviously very far away. And everything at the front here is new. So you've got a new bumper, you've got new headlights, a new central light bar. But not every Picanto is going to look exactly like this, because certain things like the central light bar and this gloss black feature around the front is only standard on GT line models. There's also some new alloy wheel designs as well. So there's a new 14-inch wheel design that you can have with the Picanto, and there's also two new 16-inch alloys as well. These are the 16-inch alloys that you get with GT line. Everything's new at the rear of the Picanto as well, and unlike the front, where that central light bar is only available on the higher trim levels, this light bar at the rear comes with every Kia Picanto. Another change back here, not that big, but these badges used to be higher up the boot lid, now they're lower down. There's now also a choice of 9 different paint colours, including 4 new ones, which includes 1 new red, there's 2 blues, and there's also this adventurous green. And the key has also had a redesign for this facelift. The interior isn't wildly different from before, but there are still some changes to go through. So you now have a digital driver display as standard, and you also now have an 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system on every Picanto as well. Previously, with the old model, some of the lower trim levels wouldn't get a touchscreen at all, but that isn't the case with the new Picanto. And this is a system that we've used a lot in other cars, and it's very responsive, it's very simple, and just quite impressive in a no-frills kind of way. You get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, which is great, but it's only wired and not wireless. You can see you've got USB-A and USB-C ports down here, but you can only connect through Apple CarPlay and Android Auto through USB-A, which is a little bit annoying. You couldn't get a sunroof with the previous Picanto, but now it's an optional extra on European models. It's not clear if we're going to get that in the UK, like some of the new interior colour packs as well. So there's a green one and there's also a brown one. And if you go for those, then you get these artificial leather seats like we have in the model here. But with regards to everything else in this interior, it's very much the same as it was before. So build quality is the same, and okay, this isn't a class of car that's blessed with really plush, soft touch material ridden interiors. But what you get in this Picanto is very solid, robust, and it all feels well put together, especially considering the price. Another thing that hasn't changed, more annoyingly, is the fact that the steering wheel only adjusts for height and not for reach. But to be honest, the driving position is very, very good, so it might be unlikely, in fact, that you have an issue with the reach adjustment in the steering wheel. And in the UK, with the previous Picanto, you could only get 5 seats, so 3 in the back, if you went for an X-Line model. But now with the facelift, the X-Line Picanto has been discontinued, but you should still be able to get 5 seats in your Picanto. It just remains to be seen which trim levels will be offered with it and which ones won't get it. There hasn't been any change in the dimensions of the car with this facelift, so that means that the space in the rear seats is the same as it was before. And given the really dinky proportions of the Picanto, actually rear seat space is pretty good. If you're 6 foot, you'll still be able to squeeze in the back here. Headroom really is impressive given the small size of the car. Legroom's a little bit stingier, but it still isn't horrendously cramped if you're an adult sat in these rear seats here. Another handy feature that remains from before is this seatbelt holder on the side here, which stops it from rattling around on the plastic while you're driving, and also helps keep it out the way if you're lowering the rear seats to make the boot bigger. Which brings us to the boot itself. Now, because the dimensions haven't changed, this is exactly the same as it was before, which means if you go for a 5-seat Picanto, like the one that we have here, then you get a height adjustable boot floor as standard, which in its highest setting here gives you a reasonable amount of space up top and a lot of underfloor storage as well. But of course, because it's height adjustable, you can lower it into its lowest position to give you more loading capacity, but that does also leave you with a big loading lip at the front here, which the 4-seat versions of the car are stuck with. And ultimately, for the money, there are other small city car rivals like the Dacia Sandero and the Suzuki Ignis that have bigger boots than what you find in the back of the Picanto. But still, relative to the other city cars that this is up against, you get a fairly decent boot. The big news in the engine department is the fact that the 1-litre turbocharged option from before isn't available anymore. So now there are 2 options when it comes to the engines with the new Picanto. One is a 1-litre 3-cylinder MPI, which was available before in the Picanto, and it had around 65 brake horsepower and really wasn't particularly quick. So in our testing, we did 0 to 60 miles per hour in 14.9 seconds. There's also now a 1.2 litre MPI, which was available a while ago with the Picanto, then it left the lineup, but now it's been brought back, and that should have more power than the 1 litre MPI. Now, both of those engines are said to have had some tweaks from before to update the performance and also the fuel economy. We don't know exactly what's changed or what the impact will be, but hopefully they'll both be better than they were before. It does seem a real shame though that we've lost that turbocharged option. The justification for it is that people buying a Picanto are going to mainly be driving around in the city and so don't need the extra performance that the turbocharged option offers. But still, it's a shame, and we just have to hope that the 2 engines you do get now have both been improved from what they were like before. And by the way, there's still a choice of 5-speed manual gearbox or an automated manual transmission, or AMT, which is essentially an automatic, but it actually has the same setup as the manual, just with a robot doing the clutch and the gears for you. The trim lineup hasn't been confirmed, but it's likely that we'll have something like 2, 3 GT Line and GT Line S, which would mean that entry-level 1 trim, which was available before, won't be available with the new Picanto. Now, in terms of the new equipment that we'll be able to get with the car, we looked at what you have with the interior, but there's also going to be some new safety kit, although it's not been confirmed just yet what we're going to get on cars coming to the UK. The Picanto used to be part of a bustling city car market which was full of cheap and small competitors. But this class of car has almost disappeared now. It's difficult for manufacturers to make a profit on small, cheap cars. And with the move towards electrification costing a lot of money and new safety regulations also making it more expensive to make cars generally, lots of manufacturers are choosing not to offer anything in this class. Kia even says that the number of competitors to the Picanto has halved since 2018, which is a real shame because small, cheap cars can make a lot of sense to a lot of people. But these updates to the Picanto show that this car isn't going off sale anytime soon. Don't forget there's still 7 years left until the ban on non-electrified vehicles would mean that this has to go off sale. There isn't, though, any plans for a fully electric Picanto. You can imagine that Kia will eventually offer a fully electric city car, but when it does, it will be a whole new replacement for the Picanto rather than an upgrade to this. As for the pricing, nothing's been confirmed yet, but it's expected that there'll be a 3 to 5% price increase across the lineup, and a starting price of around £14,000 is expected. So it's a shame that it is getting more expensive like everything else, but that would still keep it as one of the cheapest new cars that you can buy. And don't forget, you'll also get Kia's fantastic 7-year warranty as standard. So that is everything you need to know about the new Kia Picanto. Tell us what you think of the car in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel to see lots more new car reveals and reviews, and go to whatcar.com for a great deal on your next car.